What if I told you that the most powerful move you can make is simply walking away? Not begging, not explaining, not proving, just leaving, without a word, without hesitation. Because nothing shakes a person more than realizing they have lost all control over you. She thought you'd chase, she thought you'd fight for her, that you'd fall apart, that she'd always be the center of your world. But when you did this instead, when you walked away with complete certainty, everything changed. This is where real power begins. Not in words, not in arguments, but in the ability to let go without looking back. Welcome to Stoic Spirit. Today, we're diving into the Stoic philosophy of detachment, emotional control, and ultimate self-mastery. If you're tired of chasing, if you're done feeling powerless, and if you're ready to become the kind of man who never needs to prove his worth to anyone, this video is for you. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video that will sharpen your mindset and strengthen your emotional power. Stay until the end because the final lesson will shift your entire mindset forever. Let's begin. But before you can truly walk away, you need to break free from the illusion that kept you stuck in the first place. The illusion that she was somehow irreplaceable. That's where we begin. Number 1. The illusion of importance. She was never the center of your world. She believed she was irreplaceable, that no matter what she did, you'd always be there, waiting, hoping, longing. And that was her greatest mistake, because here's the brutal truth. She was never the center of your world. She was only a chapter, not the whole book. And when you understand this, you stop acting like she was the only thing that mattered. Most men fall into the trap of making a woman the centerpiece of their existence. They orbit around her like she's the sun, losing their own gravity, their own purpose, their own direction. And when she senses this, she starts pulling away, because nothing kills attraction faster than a man who has no life outside of her. But let me ask you this, before she entered your life, were you empty? Were you nothing? No. You had ambitions, interests, goals. You had an identity that wasn't tied to her validation. And now, it's time to reclaim that identity. Example, the law of perspective. Imagine you're looking at a massive painting. If you stand too close, all you see are random brushstrokes and colors. It's chaotic, confusing, overwhelming. Nothing makes sense. But the moment you take a step back, the entire picture becomes clear. You see the bigger perspective, how every part plays a role in a greater masterpiece. This is exactly how detachment works. When you're too emotionally invested in her, she becomes your entire world. You obsess over every word she says, every action she takes, every post she makes online. But the moment you step back, you realize she was just one detail in a much larger picture. She wasn't your destiny. She wasn't your purpose. She was simply a passing experience, a temporary connection. And that's where true power begins. Stoic takeaway, shift your focus back to you. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic emperors, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." You can't control how she feels. You can't control if she stays or leaves. But what you can control is how you react, where you put your focus, and how much importance you give to someone who ultimately is just a small part of your entire journey. The moment you make someone the center of your universe, you lose yourself. The solution? Redirect all that energy back into you. Practical steps to detach and reclaim your power. Step 1. Control your thoughts. Every second wasted on the past is a second stolen from your future. Every time you catch yourself thinking about her, interrupt the thought. Ask yourself, is this helping me or is this weakening me? You need to start valuing your time and mental space the same way you value money. Would you give all your money to someone who walked away from you? No. So why are you giving them your mental energy? Actionable move. Set a mental boundary. When she pops into your mind, redirect your focus immediately. Whether it's hitting the gym, working on your goals, or simply taking a deep breath and choosing to let go. Step 2. Cut the emotional cord. No more social media stalking. Stop checking her Instagram. Stop watching her stories. Stop refreshing her profile like her existence determines your happiness. Because real strength isn't pretending not to care, it's actually not caring. She doesn't need to block you. You block yourself from needing to check. Actionable move. Delete or mute her on social media. Out of sight, out of mind. The less you see, the faster you detach. Step 3. Shift the spotlight. Make yourself the main character again. She was just one part of your life, but somewhere along the way, you made her the entire story. It's time to flip the script. What are your goals? What kind of man do you want to become? What areas of your life have been neglected because you were too focused on her? Now is the time to build yourself up so high that when you look back, you wonder why you ever let her consume so much of your energy. Actionable move. Write down 3 personal goals you want to achieve in the next 90 days. Choose one area of your life to completely level up. Fitness, finances, mindset, skills. Make a plan and execute, because the best revenge is massive success. Final thought. Who are you without her? Most men lose themselves in relationships. They become soft, dependent, emotionally weak, but not you. Because now you know better. You are not defined by a single person. You are not a background character in someone else's story. You are the main character of your own life. And the moment you reclaim your power, the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop giving someone else control over your emotions, that's the moment everything changes. Because now you're untouchable. And remember, the one who moves forward wins. And here's the fascinating part. When you finally step away, something unexpected happens. The dynamic shifts, the game flips. Because when you stop chasing, she starts feeling the void. Number 2. Reverse psychology. The chase reverses when you stop running. The more you chase, the more they run. It's human nature. The moment you stop running, the entire game flips. She expects you to react. She expects you to care. She believes she still holds power over you. But when you do nothing, when you withdraw completely, when you give zero reaction, that's when doubt creeps in. She starts wondering, did he ever really love me? Why isn't he chasing? Did I make a mistake? Because here's the truth. People value what is slipping away. And when she realizes you're no longer seeking her validation, when you no longer care, everything changes. Example, the scarcity principle. Have you ever noticed how people suddenly desire what they can't have? Think about it. That exclusive event that's sold out instantly becomes more desirable. A limited edition sneaker sells out in minutes, not because people needed it, but because they feared missing out. When a stock price skyrockets, everyone rushes to invest, not because they analyzed it, but because they saw its value increasing. Humans are wired to chase what is scarce. Now apply this to relationships. If you are always available, always responding, always there, what message are you sending? That you are easily replaceable. But the moment you remove yourself from the equation, the moment you become scarce, you create something she never expected: doubt. Doubt destroys certainty. And when she's no longer certain you still want her, she starts questioning everything. She starts wondering, what if I miscalculated? What if I was wrong? What if he's already moving on? And this is where the power shift happens. Because now, you are the prize. Stoic takeaway: detachment is power. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Most men lose power because they attach their self-worth to external validation. They think their value is based on her response. They believe their happiness depends on her presence. They measure their success by whether she comes back or not. But a Stoic man understands this. Your power doesn't come from being chosen. It comes from being unbothered. Your worth isn't defined by someone else's perception. It's defined by how much you value yourself. You don't win when she regrets leaving. You win when you stop caring if she regrets it. Practical steps to reverse the game. Step 1. Disappear from her world. Let the absence speak for itself. No texts, no calls, no comments, no lurking on social media. Just vanish. Why? Because your silence will be louder than any words you could ever say. She expected an argument. She expected emotional texts. She expected to feel wanted. But instead, she gets nothing. And nothing is terrifying, because now her mind is forced to fill in the blanks. Is he already with someone else? Has he completely moved on? Did I mean nothing to him? And the more time passes, the stronger those doubts become. Step 2. Don't fake indifference. Become indifferent. Most men pretend they don't care. They post fake happiness online. hoping she notices. They try to look unbothered while secretly hoping for a reaction. They play games, but deep down, they're still emotionally attached. The real move: don't post for attention, post because you genuinely enjoy life. Don't act like you're moving on, actually move on. Don't try to make her jealous, make her irrelevant. This is the hardest part, but it's also the most powerful. The moment you genuinely stop caring, the game is over, because now she no longer has control over you. Step 3. Focus on elevation, not revenge. Here's where most men fail. They think the goal is to make her regret losing them. They start working out just to make her jealous. They start improving just to prove her wrong. They start winning just to get validation. But that's still weakness, because as long as your motivation is tied to her opinion, she still controls you. The real move: elevate for yourself. Focus on becoming so successful, so powerful, so unstoppable that her presence or absence no longer matters. Let her hear about your success, but never from you. Because nothing is more powerful than a man who is too busy winning to care. The inevitable shift: when she starts noticing again. At first, she'll pretend she doesn't care, but as weeks pass, months pass, seasons change, she'll feel it. She'll start watching. She'll start lurking. She'll start dropping accidental texts. Why? Because your absence has created scarcity. She thought you'd always be there, but now you're gone. She assumed she had infinite access to you, but now she doesn't. She never imagined you'd actually move on, but now you have. And that realization? It's brutal. Because when she finally reaches out, when she tries to reconnect, she won't be greeted with anger, resentment, or longing. She'll be greeted with indifference. And that's the real power move. Final thought: the one who stops caring wins. Most men spend months, even years, trapped in the cycle of chasing, waiting, hoping. They wait for the text that never comes. They wait for her to realize what she lost. They wait for closure. But the men who truly understand Stoicism, they don't wait, they don't chase, they don't seek validation. They walk away, level up, and never look back. And when they do, that's when everything shifts. Because in the end, it was never about getting her back. It was about becoming so powerful, so untouchable, so focused on your own life, that she becomes irrelevant. Your turn. Have you ever stopped chasing someone only to have them chase you later? Drop a comment. I read every response. If this message resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and remember, the one who stops caring wins. And here's where the real magic happens. When you reach the point where you no longer react, no longer care, no longer feel anything. That's when you hold the most power. And nothing is more unsettling to someone who once had control over you than facing your complete indifference. Number 3. The power of indifference, the most attractive trait a man can have. Nothing shifts the balance of power more than indifference. When someone expects you to care, but you don't, it sends a message more devastating than anger, more unsettling than silence, and more unforgettable than words. Why? Because it forces them to confront the harshest truth: they no longer matter in your world. Most men think the opposite of love is hate. It's not. The true opposite of love is indifference. Hate still means you care. Hate still means they have control over your emotions. But indifference? That's pure freedom. She expected you to miss her. She thought you'd be waiting. She assumed she could come and go as she pleased. But when she realizes you've moved on, truly moved on, without resentment, without longing, she is left with only one thing: self-doubt. Now she has to sit with the emptiness of your absence. And that absence? It's louder than anything you could ever say. Example: the cold shoulder effect. Picture this. You walk into a room and she's there. She expects something, a reaction, a glance, a shift in energy. She's ready for the tension, for the moment where she confirms that she still has power over you. But what happens when she gets nothing? No lingering looks, no hesitation, no nervous energy, just calm presence. She notices you, but you don't even register her. This is the cold shoulder effect. It's not about being rude. It's not about playing games. It's about demonstrating, without saying a word, that she is now just another person in the crowd. And that realization, it's devastating. Because for the first time, she isn't the center of attention. Now, you are. Stoic takeaway: indifference is power. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You shouldn't give circumstances the power to rouse anger, for they don't care at all." Apply this to relationships. If you let someone's actions affect your mood, your focus, your sense of self, you are handing them power over you. A Stoic man does not give away his power. He remains centered, unshaken, unmoved, and that is exactly why people are drawn to him, because nothing is more attractive than a man who is at peace within himself. Practical steps to master indifference. Step 1. Treat her like a stranger. No coldness, no warmth, just neutrality. Indifference does not mean being cold or bitter. It means being unaffected. If you see her, no need to avoid eye contact or act unnatural. If she speaks, respond, but keep it short, direct, and detached. She should feel that your world is moving forward, with or without her. What not to do. Do not try to act too indifferent. It comes off as fake. Do not go out of your way to prove you've moved on. True power is effortless. Do not give her emotional energy, even if it's negative. No reaction is the strongest reaction. Step 2. Control your energy. Never let her see you out of control. The way you respond determines how much control you still give her. If she texts you, don't rush to reply. Take your time. If she tries to provoke a reaction, stay calm, collected, and composed. If she tries to make you jealous, let her try. It only shows that she's still invested. Emotions are contagious. When you show absolute control, she will feel it, and she will wonder why you are so unaffected. This is where the power shifts. Step 3. Reframe your mindset. She no longer fits into your life. Most men secretly hold on to the idea of reconciliation. They imagine one day she will realize what she lost. But let's flip the perspective. What if, instead of waiting for her to see your value, you outgrow her completely? What if, instead of hoping she regrets leaving, you build a life so fulfilling that she no longer fits into it? That is true power. You don't just move on, you evolve. You don't just get over her, you rise so high that she can't reach you anymore. Final thought. Indifference is freedom. Most men chase closure. Most men seek validation. Most men waste months, even years, thinking about the past. But a Stoic man, he lets go. He moves forward, he builds. And as he builds, his past becomes irrelevant. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to make her regret. Because the moment you become indifferent, you are finally free. And freedom is the greatest victory of all. Number 4. The rebirth through pain. Pain is the fuel for your evolution. Most men crumble after heartbreak. They become stuck, frozen in time, replaying memories like an old movie that never changes. They overanalyze every detail, searching for closure that will never come. They drown in regret. They ask, "What if?" and "Why me?" as if the answers would change the outcome. But the wise man, he doesn't run from pain. He embraces it. He uses it. Because pain, when directed correctly, is the most powerful catalyst for transformation. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. The choice is yours. Example, the forge and the fire. Imagine a sword being crafted. A raw piece of metal is nothing on its own, weak, dull, fragile. But when it is placed into fire, it endures extreme heat, bending and breaking before being reforged into something stronger. Without that fire, it remains nothing but a scrap of metal. Pain is your fire. It can either destroy you or refine you, but only if you choose to endure the process. Most men try to escape pain. They numb it with distractions, drinking, partying, meaningless relationships, or endless scrolling through social media hoping to fill the void. But what they don't realize is this: pain ignored is pain wasted. A Stoic doesn't drown in pain, he transforms through it. Stoic takeaway: growth comes from struggle, not comfort. Seneca once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." The greatest men in history did not rise from comfort. They were forged in adversity. The man who has never been tested, never suffered, never struggled, remains weak and unprepared for life. But the man who has endured loss, who has faced the fire, who has learned to stand tall in the storm, that man becomes unshakable. Practical steps to use pain as fuel. Step 1. Turn pain into purpose. Pain is raw energy, and like any energy, it can either destroy or create. Instead of wasting it on self-pity, use it as a driving force to push you further than ever before. If she left you, let that fuel your self-improvement. If you feel weak, train until you become undeniable. If you feel lost, Channel that energy into building a life so strong you never feel dependent again. You don't need revenge. You don't need to prove anything to her. You need to prove to yourself that you can rise higher than ever before. Step 2. Silence speaks louder than words. Weak men seek validation from the past. They post pictures, trying to show off their glow-up, hoping she notices. Strong men let their actions do the talking. The best revenge isn't proving her wrong. It's becoming a version of yourself that no longer cares. If you're improving, do it for yourself, not to be seen. If you're leveling up, let your results speak, not your posts. If she ever comes back, let her realize you've evolved beyond her reach. The man who moves in silence, who grows without seeking attention, he is the man people regret losing. Step 3. Measure progress, not emotions. Most men make the fatal mistake of measuring how healed they are by how they feel. But emotions are deceptive. One day you'll feel invincible. The next day you might feel the weight of the past creeping back in. That doesn't mean you're not progressing. It just means you're human. The Stoic approach? Stop measuring progress in emotions. Measure it in action. Are you stronger than you were last month? Are you more disciplined than before? Are you less affected by things that used to shake you? That's real growth. The goal is not to feel good every day. It's to build yourself into someone who no longer relies on external validation to feel strong. The man who uses pain wins. Most men let pain define them. They remain stuck in the same cycle, repeating the same mistakes, trapped in the past. But the man who learns to use pain as fuel, to embrace suffering as transformation, he becomes unstoppable. Because once you've faced the fire, once you've endured the storm, nothing else can break you. And that is the ultimate power. Number 5. The last laugh, when she finally realizes what she lost. Here's a truth most people refuse to accept. You don't truly appreciate something until it's gone. This applies to friendships, opportunities, and relationships. But when it comes to someone who once had control over you, the realization cuts even deeper. She thought you'd always be there. She assumed she could move on and you'd remain in the background, waiting, hoping, lingering in her orbit. But when she sees that you're not waiting anymore, that you've truly moved forward, that your life is expanding without her, that's when the regret sets in. However, this is where most men fail. They think that moving on is about making her notice, that if they become successful, if they level up, if they look good enough, she will see what she lost and come crawling back. Wrong. The true purpose of moving on isn't to make her realize your value. It's to reach a point where her realization doesn't even matter anymore. Example, the vanishing effect, the power of being gone. Imagine a famous artist at their peak. Every song is a hit, every album sells out, and yet people take their talent for granted. Then, suddenly they disappear. No new music, no appearances, just silence. Years pass, and what happens? People start craving what they once overlooked. The same songs they ignored before suddenly become legendary. Why? Because absence makes value skyrocket. When something is always available, it's easy to ignore. But once it's gone, that's when people start realizing what they lost. This is exactly what happens when you move on without looking back. She never expected you to actually let go. She assumed you'd always be there, orbiting around her life, watching from a distance, waiting for her to change her mind. But when she looks back, expecting to still find you in the same place, and you're nowhere to be found, that's when the regret begins. At first, she pretends not to care. She posts pictures, goes out, acts like she's thriving. But behind closed doors, doubt creeps in. She starts watching your stories. She asks mutual friends about you. She suddenly finds excuses to be in the same places as you. But the worst part for her, she realizes you're completely unaffected. That's the moment she truly feels your loss. Stoic takeaway: moving on is about elevation, not revenge. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Most men get stuck here because they think moving on is about proving something, that if they become successful enough, she will see what she lost. But that's still seeking validation. That's still giving her power. True Stoicism is about detachment. You don't need her regret. You don't need her to notice. You don't need any confirmation from the past. You win the moment her realization no longer matters. Because by then, You've already outgrown the need for her approval. Practical steps to win without trying. Step 1. Live your best life without seeking validation. Some men fake moving on, posting things online hoping she sees, pretending to be happy just to make a point. That's not strength. That's a performance. The men who truly win, they move in silence. They level up without broadcasting it. By the time anyone notices, they're already too far ahead to care. What you should do: focus on what actually matters: your growth, your ambitions, your mental and physical strength. Don't post for attention. Post because you are genuinely living better. Don't fake confidence. Develop it through discipline and action. Step 2. Be too busy winning to care. The past becomes irrelevant when the future is too exciting to look back. A Stoic man doesn't have time to dwell on who left him. He is too occupied with building the next chapter of his life. She doesn't belong in that chapter. What you should do: set new goals, ones that push you beyond who you were before. Find new experiences, travel, explore, meet people, expand your world. Build a new mindset, one that doesn't require external validation. When you create a future that excites you, your past will feel like nothing more than a distant memory. Step 3. Never look back. Regret belongs to those who stayed the same. The biggest mistake men make: they leave a door open for the past. They secretly hope she'll reach out. They wonder if she's thinking about them. But the moment you look back, you lose momentum. A man who truly moves on doesn't need to check if she regrets losing him. He knows she will. But by then, it won't matter anymore. What you should do: stop waiting for closure. Your progress is your closure. Stop checking in on her life. It's no longer relevant to your journey. Stop measuring your healing by her actions. She is no longer the standard. The final truth: when she realizes it's already too late. At some point, she will realize exactly what she lost. She will look back, compare every new man to you, and wonder if she made the wrong choice. And maybe she will even reach out. But by then, she won't find the same man she left behind, because you're no longer standing in the same place. You've built something bigger than her. You've found a life that doesn't include her. You've evolved to a point where her regret is irrelevant, and that is the real last laugh. And when regret settles in, don't be surprised if she reaches out. But make no mistake, she's not coming back because she's changed. She's coming back to see if you have. Number 6. The ultimate test. When she comes back, what will you do? They always come back. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, when you've stopped thinking about her, when you've built yourself into something unshakable, she will return. And when she does, you will face the ultimate test. Most men fail this test because they see her return as a victory. They think, she finally realizes my worth. Wrong. She's not coming back because she suddenly respects you or because she's realized she made a mistake. She's coming back because she's curious. She wants to know if she still has power over you. The question is, will you fall for it? Because how you respond in that moment determines whether you are still a prisoner of the past or truly a man who has evolved. Example: the false validation trap. Imagine a man who spent months rebuilding himself after a breakup. He focused on his goals, hit the gym, worked on his mindset, and genuinely started living for himself. Then, one day, out of nowhere, she texts him, "Hey, how have you been?" At that moment, his ego lights up. She came back, he thinks. She must finally see my value. He takes the bait. The moment he shows excitement, the moment he entertains the conversation, the moment he engages emotionally, he resets everything. He unknowingly tells her, "Yes, I was still waiting. Yes, I still care what you think. Yes, you still have power over me." And just like that, the power shifts back to her. She was never there to stay. She was only there to confirm she could still get a reaction. And when she gets it, she disappears again. Stoic takeaway: her return is not proof of your value. Your growth is. Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." The weak man seeks validation from the past. The strong man knows his worth was never dependent on her recognition. If she comes back and your first instinct is to prove something to her, to get closure, to seek revenge, you haven't truly moved on. Real growth is when her return doesn't even shake your foundation. because by then, you no longer need to prove anything at all. Practical steps to pass the test. Step 1. Do not react emotionally. Whether she texts, calls, or suddenly, accidentally, bumps into you somewhere, don't react emotionally. No excitement, no hostility, no passive-aggressive remarks, just calm indifference. What not to do? Don't respond immediately. Let time create distance. Don't try to sound too happy or too cold. True indifference is effortless. Don't ask, "Why are you reaching out?" because that gives her power. It shows you care. What you should do instead. If you choose to respond, keep it short and unemotional. If she asks to meet, ask yourself first, why? What does this actually serve? If you don't feel the need to reply, then don't. When a man no longer needs closure, he has already won. Step 2. Ask yourself, do I even want this anymore? Most men fall into the trap of nostalgia. When she comes back, they start remembering the good moments, the laughter, the late-night talks, the memories that felt irreplaceable. But nostalgia is a liar. It makes you forget why she left in the first place. It makes you overlook the disrespect, the confusion, the way she walked away without hesitation. You must ask yourself, am I wanting her back? Or am I just craving validation? Am I thinking clearly? Or am I being pulled back by emotions? Would I still want this if I had 10 better options? When you look at it logically, not emotionally, you realize she no longer fits into your life, because you are no longer the man she left. Step 3. Remember, you already won. Her return is confirmation, not an invitation. It's proof that she now sees what you knew all along, that you were valuable. But by the time she realizes it, it's too late, because the new version of you doesn't need the validation anymore. The greatest power you can have is to no longer seek revenge, closure, or her approval. What you should do instead, if she reaches out, don't see it as a challenge. See it as proof that your growth was real. If she asks for another chance, remember, a door that closed once can close again. If you feel tempted, remind yourself, what does going back say about my evolution? A man who has truly mastered himself doesn't go back to what broke him. The final truth. When you pass the test, you become untouchable. Most men never get past this stage. They think they've won just because she came back. But the man who truly wins, he doesn't even need to take the call. Because by then, he's already too far ahead. By then, she's just another face in the crowd. By then, he has become the kind of man who no longer looks backward. Because his future is too powerful to waste on the past. And this is the real test. Not whether she comes back, but whether you even care if she does. Because true strength isn't in waiting, it's in letting go completely. Number 7. The freedom of letting go. True strength comes from moving on. Most men stay trapped in the past, not because they can't move on, but because they don't allow themselves to. They wait for an apology, wait for an explanation, wait for some magical moment where she finally realizes her mistake. But here's the reality. That moment will never come. And even if it did, would it change anything? Would an apology erase the pain? Would an explanation make her choices more acceptable? Would knowing why she left somehow make the past easier to bear? No, because closure is an illusion. It's something we tell ourselves we need, when in reality the only person who can give you closure is you. Example. The illusion of closure, why you must stop waiting. Picture this, you're standing at a train station, waiting for a train. You were told it would arrive soon. You believe it will arrive soon. So you wait. Minutes turn into hours. Hours turn into days. Days turn into months. Other trains come and go, offering new destinations, new opportunities. But you don't board them. You stay, still waiting for the one train that never arrives. That's what waiting for closure is like. The longer you wait, the more you rob yourself of new possibilities. Because while you're standing still, life is moving forward without you. And that's the real tragedy. Not that she left, not that you lost her, but that you are keeping yourself stuck. At some point, you have to stop waiting for answers. Because the past will not change, but your future, that's still in your hands. Stoic takeaway. You move on when you decide to. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." The real fear isn't losing her. The real fear should be wasting years of your life mourning something that no longer exists. Because every second spent analyzing the past is a second stolen from your future. The moment you realize that you don't need her apology, her explanation, or her recognition, you set yourself free. Because moving on isn't about getting answers. It's about realizing that the answers don't matter anymore. Practical steps to let go completely. Step 1. Stop replaying old memories. The past has nothing new to offer you. The mind is like a movie projector. It replays moments over and over, trying to analyze what went wrong, searching for meaning. But watching the same movie 1,000 times won't change the ending. She left. It happened. No amount of thinking will rewrite the past. What you should do instead. The moment a memory resurfaces, interrupt it. Instead of asking why it happened, ask what you can do now. Every time you catch yourself living in the past, take an action that benefits your future. The past is a dead end. Stop walking toward it. Step 2. Forgive. Not for her, but for yourself. Most men hold on to resentment without realizing it only chains them to the past. They think, she doesn't deserve my forgiveness. But here's the truth. Forgiveness is not for her. It's for you. Because anger keeps you connected to what hurt you. What you should do instead, write down everything she did that still bothers you. Read it one last time. Then burn it, delete it, or throw it away. It's not about justifying what happened. It's about letting go of what's weighing you down. Because holding on to pain doesn't punish her. It only keeps you stuck. Step 3. Reclaim your mind. Not everything needs an answer. One of the biggest mistakes men make is believing that every story needs an ending. Some things are meant to be unfinished. Some things are meant to be left behind. What you should do instead. Accept that not every question has an answer. Realize that seeking explanations only drags you backward. Instead of demanding closure, create your own by choosing to move forward. Because in the end, the only thing that matters is the path ahead. The final truth. When you let go, you become untouchable. Here's the truth. You don't heal when she apologizes. You don't move on when she regrets leaving. You don't get stronger by waiting for an explanation. You move on when you decide that the past no longer has power over you. And that decision, it belongs to you alone. Because the moment you let go, you don't just move on, you rise. And nothing is more powerful than a man who is no longer held back by yesterday. And while you've been rising, something else has been happening. The power has shifted, because now she's the one left looking back. Number 8. The last laugh. The man who moves on wins. She thought she had power over you. She assumed she could come and go as she pleased, that you would always be an option, waiting in the background hoping for her return. But now, you've disappeared into greatness. She expected your downfall. She thought you would break, that you would drown in regret, that you would be stuck in the same place, waiting, watching, hoping. But instead, she sees something else. She sees a man who is rising, a man who is evolving, a man who no longer looks back. And now she is the one left wondering. This is the final shift in power. Not because you tried to prove her wrong, not because you wanted revenge, not because you sought validation, but because you no longer need any of it. This is where the Stoic mindset separates you from the weak. Because while most men waste years looking back, reliving memories, searching for meaning, you have moved beyond it all. You didn't just move on, you outgrew her. And that is the last laugh. Example, the power shift from victim to victor. Think of every great hero's journey. At the start, the hero is knocked down, betrayed, abandoned, left to suffer. Everyone expects him to stay broken, to never recover, but instead of staying in the ashes, he rises. The pain doesn't destroy him, it transforms him. And by the time the world sees him again, he is no longer the man they once knew. This is your journey. At one point, she had the power. She walked away thinking she would always have the upper hand. But when she looks back, she doesn't find the same man she left. She finds a man who has transcended, a man who has grown into something unshakable, unstoppable, untouchable. And now, she is the one living in the past. But you are already far ahead. You don't need closure, you don't need validation. You don't need her to regret losing you, because by now, her presence is irrelevant. Stoic takeaway. Moving on isn't about proving anything to her, it's about proving everything to yourself. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. The men who never move on are those who stay mentally trapped in the past. They may physically move forward, but their minds remain stuck, replaying the same memories, wishing for a different outcome. But a Stoic man doesn't waste his life on what's gone. He understands that there is nothing to prove to anyone but himself. Moving on isn't about making her regret. Moving on is about becoming a man who doesn't need her regret. Because by the time she realizes what she lost, you have already built a life where she no longer fits. Practical steps to cement your transformation. Step 1. Don't look back. The future is ahead, not behind. The future is ahead, not behind. The biggest mistake most men make? They leave a door open for the past. They secretly hope she will return. They keep one foot in the past, checking in, wondering if she still thinks about them. That's a trap. What you should do instead: stop checking her social media. A man who moves on doesn't look back. Don't engage if she reaches out. If she was willing to leave before, she is capable of leaving again. When the past tries to pull you back, remind yourself, what does going backward serve? The answer? Nothing. Your only direction is forward. Step 2. Live with purpose. Make your future so big that your past shrinks. A man without purpose is a man who is easily pulled back into the past. The reason most men never truly move on is because they have nothing compelling to move toward. What you should do instead: set new goals that are bigger than anything you've pursued before. Surround yourself with people who challenge you, not those who remind you of the past. Create a vision so clear that the past feels like a different lifetime. When you live with purpose and direction, everything behind you naturally fades away. Step 3. Embody true power. A man who truly moves on never needs validation again. Most men chase external validation. They want to be seen, noticed, acknowledged. But the strongest men, they move without needing recognition. What you should do instead: let your success be silent. No need to show off. Just become undeniable. Build confidence that doesn't rely on anyone's approval. True self-worth comes from within. Stop waiting for a reaction from her. By the time she realizes you're different, you will have already evolved beyond her reach. A man who doesn't seek validation is a man who commands respect without trying, and that is the highest level of power. The final realization: the man who moves on never looks back. Here's where you finally win. It's not the moment she regrets losing you. It's not the moment she reaches out. It's not the moment you see the sadness in her eyes. It's the moment you realize you don't care. Because the truth is, you don't need to get the last word. You don't need to prove your worth. You don't need revenge, because by then you've built something greater than the past. And that's when you understand, the last laugh always belongs to the Stoic. Final words: the one who walks away wins. She thought you'd chase, she thought you'd beg, she thought you'd always be there waiting, just like before. But instead, you walked away. And in doing so, you took back all your power. No words, no explanations, no desperate attempts to hold on to something that was already gone. Because a man who walks away isn't weak, he isn't broken, he isn't running from anything, he's rising. The past no longer controls him. Regret no longer haunts him. The need for closure no longer exists, because he created his own. You see, most people expect closure to come from others. They wait for an apology, a conversation, a moment that never arrives. But a man who has mastered himself doesn't wait. He chooses to move forward, not because he has to, but because he knows his future is too valuable to waste on the past. And now, the wait is gone. The endless cycle of overthinking, analyzing, questioning, it's over. You no longer wait. You no longer wonder, you no longer chase, because the moment you stop needing them is the moment they start needing you. A final thought to leave you with. There's an old saying, a lion doesn't turn around when a small dog barks. This is the mindset of the Stoic. He does not waste time proving his worth. He does not need permission to walk his path. He lets go, he moves forward. He builds a life so strong, so powerful, that the past becomes a mere footnote in his journey. And that's exactly what you're doing now. By walking away, you aren't losing. You aren't giving up. You aren't surrendering. You are winning. Because true power doesn't come from holding on, it comes from knowing when to let go. And when you do, you become untouchable. Thank you for watching. If this message resonated with you, drop a comment. I read every single one. Have you ever walked away from someone only for them to come back later? Let's talk about it. And if you haven't already, hit like and subscribe. This channel is about mastering yourself, living with strength, and embracing the power of Stoicism in your everyday life. Because in the end, the last laugh always belongs to the Stoic.